The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the Go Paperless with DocLink for Dynamics ERP webinar. Today, it is presented by Patrick Wynn, who is the ISV of the month with Altec. For a few housekeeping items, as I said, Patrick Wynn will be doing the presentation today. Aaron Daniels is on with us, as well as Chelsea Schlepp, which are the client strategy managers here with Interdyne Artists. If you have any questions during the webinar, please put them in the questions panel and we will read those at the end. We will also be recording this webinar, so if you missed anything, then we will be sending out the recording shortly after. All right, and just to briefly talk about GPUG Summit, it will be hosted in Nashville this year on October 10th through 13th. If you'd like, you can register now and get a 10% discount off of the GPUG membership if you put the code PRPArtists. All right, Patrick, I'll let you take it away.
Great, thank you, and thank you, Interdyne Artists, for allowing Altec present on this month's ISV of the month. And today we're going to talk about going paperless with DocLink for Dynamics ERPs. My name is Patrick Wynn. I'm the sales director here at Altec. And to give you folks an overview on who Altec is, Altec was founded in 1985. We've been in business now for 32 years. We are headquartered in Laguna Hills, California, also have an office in Tacoma, Washington. We have over 3,200 clients using DocLink today for managing their documents and content. And with that, let's go ahead and begin. So we live in a world of instant access. 2 months ago, I was in the Netherlands, Amsterdam, and traveled to many other parts of Netherlands. And I was looking for coffee shops. I was looking for places to eat. I went to a library one day, and how did I find these places? Well, I used my phone. I did Google searches, and I searched on the internet. So, how do you do it today? When you go to a new city, you probably do the same thing. You pull out your smartphone, and you do searches to find destinations that you want to go to, whether it's a restaurant, coffee shop, bookstore, or maybe a convenience store, whatever it may be that you want to go to. So in today's world, data and information is easily accessible out in the real world at your fingertips with your smartphone. So why is it so hard to find anything in your office? This is a different story. For many of us, our expectations have been severely lowered when it comes to finding critical data and documents that would help us make decisions on a day-to-day basis at our work, at our jobs. And there are reasons that it's harder to find something within our organization. For one thing, not all the information comes to us in a format that may be easily accessible or easily tracked. And not everything is stored in a database that can be easily sliced and diced. We still communicate with our, clients and our vendors via documents that are mailed and in other avenues that are not as efficient and effective. But even if you're using digital documents, you're still having to be able to track that communication and store its content in a manner that is meaningful for your organization and maybe your client or vendors as well. And that's where document management comes into play, providing you and your organization a meaningful way to store your documents and translate these documents into content that is meaningful data that can be used throughout your business process and the life cycle of that document. And that's key. So the question here is, how do you store documents today? A lot of organizations that we work with that evaluate DocLink, which is the name of our document management system, a lot of organizations come to Altec and look at DocLink because they store a lot of documents in filing cabinets today. They have multiple locations. Documents are stored in filing cabinets, maybe off-site storage or warehouses, and they want to be able to get these documents electronically so they're easily accessible and retrievable within not only their corporate office, but other office locations or people that work remote, or maybe accessible for clients and vendors to access their documents. Filing cabinet is very common. The next step is some organizations have gone to the next step and stored documents in network file share. Great, you're storing them electronically, but it still is a manual process where you're actually, storing these documents, naming these documents a certain way, storing it in the right folder, and hopefully you name it correctly so that someone can find it and store it in the right folder. So there's still, sure, that's great that you're getting these documents electronically from network file share, but there's still inefficiencies as it relates to that, and how you can search and retrieve, and how do you manage a document's workflow and process there. Then we get to software, which is where DocLink is at, and where we can really help you in refining your business processes and managing the life cycle of your documents and content. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So businesses today, regardless of how you store your documents, there are common business problems that we all face in all of our businesses. Number one is silos of business data and documents, whether they're electronic and or paper. Where is everything? How do we find everything? How do we access everything? What visibility do we have, when documents and data is all over the place? What about inefficient workflow? How long does it take to get a document approved when you have to manually give the document to someone to sign off on or approve, or maybe via email? What if things fall behind in the process and things don't get approved on time? What happens then? And it could be any type of document, whether it's a contract, an AP invoice, or an agreement with a vendor or customer. Lack of visibility, security, and compliance. Is everything in your organization secure? If you're able to access a particular folder or filing cabinet, are you able to access all the documents in there? Obviously, a lot of filing cabinets and organizations are locked up, but if you're able to access the cabinet, you can access any document in there, right? So how is everything secured in your organization? And what happens if the document or information gets destroyed? How do you reproduce or produce these documents when it comes time for auditing or audit purposes? How are your audits, right? Operational inefficiencies. How many delays have you experienced due to storage, meaning access documents? Do you have to transport? We hear a lot where documents get transported from one location to corporate because documents are spread out throughout the nation with different offices. What about misfiling? How does that affect your organization? And lost documents. How do you reproduce these documents if documents are lost or destroyed through a natural disaster? We've come across organizations where they've had floods or gone through a hurricane or a tornado. What happens then when the documents are completely gone? Inability to maximize profit. So there's a lot of costs as it relates to managing everything within paper, filing cabinets, and whatnot. So the hard costs, including things such as storage, supplies, such as printing out paper, and toner and things like that, as it relates to supplies. Postage, mailing documents to corporate back and forth. But there are also other cost avoidance to look out for, and that is time savings. Beyond just the hard costs, what's the time savings, the soft cost that you would get from having a document management system in place? 3 simple questions to ask yourself as to why you might need a solution to manage all your documents and information electronically. Does your current system require a lot of touching, moving, and filing of documents? As part of that, are you losing documents? Can you put your hands on the documents in a timely fashion when you need it now? Or are you taking days, if not hours or weeks, to find certain documents? What happens when a customer calls or a vendor calls? Is it hard for you to find these documents? Do you have to dig through filing cabinets to find? How hard is it to access these documents and data? What happens when you have to recreate them? Is that a painful process? Are your approval processes manual and inefficient? What does it take to get a document approved in your organization? What's the process there? Do things have to get approved based on tier level, let's say for an invoice, based on the dollar amount of the invoice? Does it have to be approved by certain individuals based on their approval limits? You know, how does documents arrive to your organizations? Do you get documents from email, or they come in through snail mail, or they fax to you? This is a huge benefit of DocLink and its ERP integration, which allows for a single point of entry. You know, imagine how cool is that to be able to, you know, have DocLink, have a document management system to access your documents easily through search and retrieval processes, and have an integration into your Dynamics ERP. How much time do you waste on data entry and filing today? Think about that. Whether it's your purchasing people, your AP people, or your people, your legal department managing contracts. The moment a person touches a document, errors can happen. You know, would you like to reduce the keystrokes and the frequency of mistakes there? You know, what could your business do with its, you know, free time? Being able to get people to do other tasks, maybe, instead of the tedious day-to-day, you know, manually tracking of the workflows and entries of certain documents into the system, such as invoices. But we're not here to complain about the different problems that your organization is facing. We're here to talk about solutions. And our solution to your business challenges is DocLink. What is DocLink? Well, DocLink, the start is a capture, so is a repository and a storage of documents. But how do you bring in documents into DocLink? A lot of different ways that you can bring in documents, and it starts with capturing of documents. If it's paper-based documents, you could scan documents directly into the system, and you could utilize OCR. We have that as well, which, for those folks that don't know, OCR stands for Optical Character Recognition, bringing documents in and reading documents and the data on the documents. We could also bring in documents that are already in electronic format. So if you want to store Word, Excel, PDF, we could store image files, multimedia files, any document that's already electronic format, you could bring it in and store it inside DocLink in their native format. So bringing in documents. We also have drag and drop capability to drag documents directly into DocLink as well that are already in electronic format. So once documents are brought in, captured, and brought into DocLink, searching and retrieving becomes important, being able to search for documents and linking documents together that are associated with one another. For example, linking a purchase order, your purchase order, to the vendor's packing slip, to the vendor's invoice, to the vendor, to the check that you use to pay for the invoice, linking those documents together easily so that when you find one of the documents, you could access and retrieve and see all these supporting documents to that. That's just an example of how documents are searched and retrieved and linked together. But then you could link a contract to the system as well, and link that contract to a vendor or a customer. Remember, DocLink is an enterprise-wide document management system so that you can manage any document, any content for any department, any group. Workflow becomes very important. So if you have certain documents that need any type of approval workflow, you certainly can manage that all in the system. You might have routing conditions based on vendor, based on customer, based on dollar amount, based on what was ordered. Could be based on anything, any of the property values or metadata values of that document. So routing is all electronically managed inside DocLink. Automation delivery of documents as well. You might want to automate. We hear this a lot where our clients come to us and say, well, I want to be able to automate the sending of our AR invoice to our clients. But at the same time, we need to add supporting documents as part of that delivery, whether it is a signed delivery ticket. Some of their clients require a signed delivery ticket before they pay for the invoice, or maybe a contract as part of that. So we can automate the delivery of all the supporting documents, including the AR invoice. Another area that DocLink offers is our Smart Forms. Smart Forms is a tool that allows you to create all different types of business forms that your organization may have on paper today or on a Word document or Excel spreadsheet. Very common uses of our Smart Form is an expense report. utilizing expense reporting, which we use it internally here at Altec as well. We use our smart form for expense report. Other common uses is purchase requisition, approval process and form, check request, new employee onboarding process, credit card reconciliation, just as an example of some that are very common, but we have clients that utilize it for many other different types of forms that they may have in your organization, whether it is on the accounting side or purchasing side, or maybe it's on the manufacturing process, or maybe it's within HR. A lot of different ways to do that. So let's talk about some potential savings. There is one, if there's one thing your decision makers might hem and haw over, is how a new purchase can make everything better. You know, that's what executives all think. You know, how can when I purchase a software, how is it going to make my organization better? Well, here's an example of one of our customers. They're a manufacturer in the Midwest, and they were able to reap the benefits of eliminating their need of off-site storage facilities in the tune of about $85,000 a year in savings that they save with off-site storage a year. So imagine if you have off-site storage, what if you were able to get everything inside DocLink? How would that save your organization on a yearly basis? Another customer that had some savings, this is a national government and education software developer, and they found plenty of savings once they implemented DocLink. But what they immediately noticed within the first few months was that they were able to save roughly $11,000 in postage, in postage alone. This is just postage every year, because they were mailing documents back and forth between the different offices that they worked with within their organization, the different offices. So they were able to save $11,000 in postage. So think about it. Storage, $85,000 as an example of our previous customer that we talked about. Postage of $11,000. We're already talking nearly $100,000 in potential savings just between those two. We haven't even touched on some other areas. So here's an example. Not all savings are visible in hard dollar. Here's an example of a business that was growing, and it's an investment firm, one of our customers that was rapidly growing and implemented DocLink, and what they were able to do is not have to hire additional staff because of their growth, and that came in a tune of about $48,000 in salary savings by not having to add people to their staff. So we kind of touched on these examples, of our customers and the results that they had, but how do we get there? Let's look at the business problems that we mentioned earlier. And these are some of the problems that a lot of our clients face. We'll touch on all these areas, but let's focus on silos of business data that plague all of us. Information is scattered everywhere within your organization, whether you have one office or you have multiple offices, because information and data, documents and data is scattered through all the different departments and storage, and how do those things are stored. DocLink brings all types of documents and data into a central repository, no matter what the information is. Our robust ability to capture any document for any process allows you to stomp out silos and be able to search and retrieve documents wherever you need it. So whether you're at home or you're on the road or in one of the offices. And of course, our integration with the different Dynamics ERPs, whether it is GP, NAV, SL, or AX, we have a tight integration as it relates to PO and PO process, as well as AP invoices into these different ERPs, as well as we give you the access to these documents right from these ERP screens. So that's a really nice and tight integration that we have. Here's an example. On this next slide, an example of an accounting screen where we have this, you can see at the bottom left here, this View Documents button. So this is an AP entry screen, and that View Documents button is on the AP screens. We have it on the PO screens. We have it on the customer screen, as well as the vendor screen, where any document related to that screen, when you hit the View Documents button, you are able to view and access those documents. Very easy for the accounting users. the ERP uses to access documents related to screens. Makes it super easy. We also have a lot of different ways you could access documents. So, of course, we have our smart client, which is the desktop user, where you get able to access documents directly through the smart client. You know, for the accounting users, they could access documents related to those accounting screens right from the Dynamics ERP. For the non-ERP users, they would access documents through our smart client, which is the desktop tool, or you could access it through your laptop directly from the system. We also give you mobile access as well. So we have a mobile app for 2 operating systems, the iOS, or Apple devices such as iPads and iPhones. We also have mobile device for Android devices as well. So if you have an Android device, you certainly can have a mobile app for that. But beyond that, we also support web access. So web client allows you to access through any type of web browser, whether it's Chrome, Safari, Firefox, if you use one of the other ones, IE. Certainly you can access documents and information and have workflow through that as well. So let's touch on the next one, which is with all the visibility and disruption of business data silos, we're able to tackle the problem of inefficient workflow as well. So definitely a lot of organizations have inefficient workflows within their organization. How do we tackle that? As I think I mentioned earlier, we have a workflow tool, which is very powerful and configurable based on your business needs and your company's requirements, whether it is routing based on a vendor, based on a customer, based on a dollar amount, based on maybe a way an invoice is coded, or maybe a contract, how it's written up. A lot of different ways that we can manage the workflow. And what happens if workflows are falling behind? You know, a lot of organizations that come to us say, well, you know what? I send an email with the document attached over to this individual. He or she takes weeks to approve it. Well, you know, can I get them to look at it a lot sooner and get it approved a lot sooner? Well, we could put time limits on the workflow steps. So once they receive notification, let's say they get 48 hours to respond. If they don't respond within those 48 hours, they'll get a notification that gives them another 24 hours to respond. If they don't respond within those 24 hours, then it gets escalated to a senior person above them, maybe their boss, to review. And you know, you never want your boss to get notified that you're not doing your job. So when we put those scenarios in place and implement those things for our clients, approvals seem to happen a lot quicker, which is great. So, you know, things to think about is, how do you get your documents? Are documents coming into the various locations, or are documents coming into just corporate? You know, do your customers submit how do your customers POs come into your organization? And do they need to go through a specific process for approval through a salesperson, through the purchasing group, to a manager? You know, how does that happen? Do you want to put HR applications through a review process, as an example? We've seen that for some of our clients who implement it on the HR side. Anything is possible here. Any document, any content that you want to bring into DocLink. And the end game is being able to manage where documents are in the process and take action if necessary, and having better visibility and control of the documents and or transactions or content at any part of the life cycle. You know, that's the key thing, having visibility and control over everything, and visibility. So approvals, we hear this a lot. You know, approvals need to be faster, like I talked about, you know, all the different conditions that we could put in place for an approval process and what happens there. So there's a lot of different ways that you could approve a document. As you see here on the left of this mobile device, we can actually make it really easy for managers or reviewers or approvers to approve something. We could send out an email out of the system automatically once things come in, and let's say this manager is the next person that needs to approve this document. We could send out an email with the attachment, and simple approve or deny button right from the email. So they really don't even need to log into the system to approve. This is an option that you can set up, we could set up for certain managers or certain people to review and approve. So it makes it super easy, whether they're on their mobile device or at the desk. If they're in their email, they can hit approve or deny after looking at the document. We also have a mobile approval, meaning actually approving through the mobile app, or of course logging into the system through the smart client and approving right from there. So a lot of different ways to get documents approved, and there really is no excuse that why people aren't approving when they need to. So a lot of different ways and controls in place so that we make sure that the document is moving through its approval process. What's also nice, and we hear a lot from our clients, is being able to delegate the authority while I'm away. Let's say I'm on vacation. Like when I was out, let's say if I'm approval and I'm out of the country and I really, it would be hard for me to get things approved and I want to delegate my authority to approve to someone else. Well, I could set up a time limit. Let's say I know I want to be out from this Saturday till the following Saturday. Well, any documents that come in during that time, I want to filter it to, let's say I'm the CEO or CFO, excuse me. Then I'm going to delegate it to the CEO, given that he agrees to it, I'm going to set it off to him during that time frame. So I could set it from date and time to start and a date and time to end. So it automatically filters to that individual. And there's a full audit trail on when that happened and when he or she has approved documents on my behalf. So really nice way to set up and not have to worry about when I'm on vacation. And let's say I do come back early for some reason. I could actually revoke that authority when I come back and just log into the system as myself and revoke that and send everything back through to me for approval that needs to go to me. So very nice workflow delegation capability. Next, lack of visibility and security and compliance. We hear this quite often with clients making things sure that things are secure and managed by compliance. So one of the top questions that we hear is security. How are things secure? Well, things are secure based on users and how you set up security for each user. And being that it's an enterprise-wide document management system, you want to make sure things are secure based on who the user is and how they access the system. So you could lock things down based on the company. So our system is very much like the Dynamics ERP. You can have multiple companies in our system as well. So depending on the user, you may limit users to access only certain companies. So that's the top level of security. So being able to give access by company. Next is by document type. So when you're accessing the system as a user, are you part of the finance group? Are you part of the HR group? Are you part of the legal group, operations group, manufacturing group, whatever it may be, department, and then the different documents within those departments, right? If you're able to access these documents, which documents are you able to access? And me being in accounting, I can only access, let's say, maybe AP invoices and checks related to it, or in POs and packing slips, for instance. If there's HR documents in there, I never am able to access any of those as a user. So document types security is next. And then beyond that, let's say I'm able to access invoices because I'm in the accounting department. Which invoices can I access? Am I only able to access invoices related to vendor ABC, for instance, and vendor ABC invoices, but only up to $5,000 as an example. But then we even touch and go one level deeper. Once you're able to access that document, what can I do with that document? Can I edit the property fields? Can I delete the document? Can I make annotations to the document? Can I create a different version of the document? So this, once you're able to access documents, what can I do with it, or what can't I do with it? So security is very tight and secure with our system based on users and how you want them to access the system, all configurable. So let me tell you a story. We have a client who went through a sales tax audit, and they were penalized roughly $100,000 because they could not make the proper documents visible to these auditors. So think about that. Have you gone through a tough audit where you weren't able to furnish documents to your auditors, or that you had to go through a very painful search process through offsite storage or through your warehouse? Got down on your knees and got dirty and dig through filing cabinets to find these documents. How has these audits worked for you in the past? Imagine if you're able to search and retrieve for these documents in simple as a few minutes search or a few seconds search. You search for it, you export these documents to into a flash drive, and when you do that, the light client of the software comes with it, so that your auditors can search and retrieve for the documents that you have exported through our same search engine. So that's really nice, and that's one of the things that we hear our clients struggle with is compliance and producing these documents for their audits. And having that capability to export the documents that your auditors are asking for in seconds and put it on, let's say, a flash drive and give it to the auditor so they can search and retrieve those documents. It takes very little training to do that, to search and retrieve these documents so that your auditors can access the documents, as well as all the audit trails. So imagine they could see the document and see, okay, who approved it, when they approved it, when it happened, who touched it, all the full audit trails of everything. So there really isn't any questions that your auditor should have. Everything is there. All the supporting documents are exported with it when you do that. All the audit trails and when things were approved, when things were coded, if it's an invoice, all of that is within the audit trails. Makes it super easy to manage these audits with DocLink. Next, operational inefficiencies. This is likely all throughout your organization, in certain areas that are very obvious, in certain areas that are hidden, and really hard to determine, right? And not easily viewable to you. So regardless of how documents come into your business, and they're safely captured and indexed, it's data automatically. DocLink gets the information through, and we can capture it from email. We can pick up documents from fax, from scan, from barcode. We talked about, picking up documents and information via OCR. And we can automate the indexing of this data as it comes through in pre-configured templates or ones that are built for yourself. So you don't have to worry about any more printing, any more copying, any more filing, not having to worry about matching documents together, such as matching. We do 3-way and 2-way matching of invoices. So we can match, POs to packing slips to invoices or invoices to POs. So we can automate that. Imagine the time that would be saved for you not having to manage that manually. And then taking that data and minimizing any data entry that you need to do. We could feed that data directly into the ERP, reducing any human errors through each of the steps, and supporting a mobile workflows that allows you to access documents remotely. So you may have people on the road. How are they accessing documents, right? Access things from remote locations or on the road. We do have mobile capture capability as well, and what's nice is one of the areas that I use mobile capture at Altec is for expense report. So I'm able to capture my receipts while I'm on the road, whether it is a car rental receipt or a hotel or a meal. I could just take a picture and upload it and do my expenses that way. Really easy way. That's an example of how I use it. I've seen other customers where there are service-based customers where they have to take pictures of an item that they're servicing or a customer's equipment, whatever it may be, that they just need to send a picture of whatever, or take a picture and upload it into the system. That certainly is doable as well. Maybe it's an equipment that has a malfunction or a crack in an area where that you need to fix, and you want to take a picture of that. So a lot of different ways to utilize our mobile capture capability for your organization. All right, we're on the home stretch here. We're almost done, and then we'll leave time for Q&A at the end. And I thought it would be valuable to visit the cost of doing business manually. You know, many people are so close to the process that they do not have or have not had the opportunity to consider what it costs to do things manually. People really don't think about that sometimes. You know, there are both hard costs, such as storage we talked about, supplies, postage, and then there are soft costs, such as time saved by doing things all electronically. So to maximize your profits, your business needs to examine where it can cut cost and spending. I did an analysis on average spend, and I came up with a very conservative 11,600 savings based on, you know, office supplies, copier machines, toner, and different things you would need to manage documents, you know, filing cabinets, things like that, in terms of storing everything you like pay on paper today. You know, how much are you spending on paper and ancillary services? Offsite storage. We saw a savings of one of our clients of $85,000. You know, is that worth an investment in technology for you to solve? You know, what would it mean if you could free up time to go after strategic initiatives? You know, how much would you save in full-time employee costs if you were able to grow without having to add headcounts? These are all things to think about within your organization that would help, you know, drive the need and drive the interest within your executives for a document management system and content system such as DocLink. All right. We talked about this. This screen has came up several times now. You know, business problems that we all face. Silos of business data that you have in your organization. Documents, data all over the place. The inefficiencies that you have with workflows today, managing that all on paper, right? Lack of visibility and security within your organization and compliance with your audits, right? How are you accessing your documents? Are they secure so that not everybody can access the document? Are the documents easily retrievable and accessible for your auditors? Operational inefficiencies in your organization, inability to maximize profits. These are really just the tip of the iceberg as common business issues that plague organizations and compel them to consider document management and content management. So what's really the next step for you and your organization? Do we need to have a discovery call, talk more about your business process and review your business processes, whether it is on the accounting side, whether it's in HR, contracts, wherever it is? You know, let's talk about that. Maybe we need to do an ROI survey to see if we can cost justify a solution like this, which is not very hard. We do that for our clients all the time before they purchase. Do we need to schedule a product demo and talk more about DocLink and show you how it can work for your organization? You know, there's a lot of different ways, and we could talk about all the different ways that may be cost savings to you. We talked about some of them today, but there might be other areas and other ways that your organization may be looking to save money on throughout your organization by managing documents electronically. So we could definitely touch on those when we have these conversations. With that, I do want to thank you for everybody's time, and appreciate you joining our webinar today. I want to keep the line open and see if there's any questions that came in through the Q&A. And of course, if there's any questions that come in after, certainly reach out to your client strategy manager at Interdyne Artist, whether it's Chelsea or Aaron. But with that, I'd like to see if there's any questions that came through this presentation today.
Hey, Patrick, I did not see any questions in the queue.
Okay. Well, we could stay here for a few more moments and see if there's any questions that came through.
Okay, that works. And we will be sending, just to say again, a recording of this webinar to all of you. So that way, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to Chelsea, myself, or Patrick.
And today's presentation is definitely informative and gets you folks thinking about how you can utilize document management. Definitely would love the opportunity to talk to any of you folks to uncover what it really is about your organization that you see can utilize document management, and see how we can maybe tailor a demonstration of the software for your organization. So definitely love to learn more about your organization, see how we can help.
Okay, great. Well, I still don't see any questions, Patrick.
Okay.
All right. So I guess we'll go ahead and end the webinar now, and please reach out if you guys need anything.